In this video, I'm going to show you the perfect setup for your four-wheel drive vehicle. And this setup, it's very efficient, very practical, and very easy to use. And anybody can do it. And all you need is a portable winch and a horseshoe peg. And the beauty of the system is you can get unstuck in almost any situation because you can pull yourself forward or you can pull yourself backwards. And I first found out about this system about 4 years ago, and I go to a lot of very remote areas. I like to document old Spanish treasure sites, Indian sites, petroglyph sites, mining sites, pioneer sites, and stuff like that. And these areas are almost always in very remote locations, and 99% of the time I'm by myself. And about 4 years ago, I got stuck in a bad way, and I did not think I was going to get out, and I was way out in the middle of nowhere, and I was in an area where it would have been nearly impossible for a family member or a friend to come and pull me out without they themselves getting stuck. And so when I got home that night, I did get unstuck barely, but when I got home that night, I started researching a method I could use using a winch. And that's when I came across this system. I didn't invent this system. It's been around for a while, but unfortunately there's not a lot about it on the internet, and that's why I wanted to do this video. So in this video, I'm going to show you how it works, everything you'll need, and I'm going to give you a demonstration. I just wanted to take a quick second and show you kind of the area where we're at. This is the Sangre de Cristo mountain range. It's Spanish for the blood of Christ. And these are beautiful mountains. And when they're snow-capped early in the morning as the sun is rising, you have a tinge of red on the mountain peaks. And almost all these mountain peaks are above 14,000 feet. And so the peaks look red, and that's where they got their name, Blood of Christ. But very beautiful area. Well, I found us a nice little spot, so I think this will work really good to do a demonstration. Before we get started, this bag you see right here, this bag never leaves my Jeep. It stays back here 24/7. This is my emergency bag, and inside of here I keep a shovel, traction mats, a blanket, first aid kit, and different survival gear that I'll need in an emergency. And if you spend a lot of time out in the deserts, out in the mountains, I'd highly recommend you get a bag like this and you keep it in your vehicle. Remember earlier when I told you I got stuck and I was barely able to get out? Well, the only reason I got unstuck was because of the traction mats and the shovel I keep in this bag. So they come in handy and they are a lifesaver. But to make this system work on your vehicle, you will need a receiver hitch in the back of the vehicle, and you will need a receiver hitch in the front of the vehicle. And these are inexpensive. You can buy them on Amazon. They don't cost that much. And the beauty of this system is my winch and all my gear just sits in my garage unless I need it. That way I don't have the winch on the front of the vehicle where, you know, it's getting snowed on, rained on, a lot of dust and road grime. And this keeps my winch in like new condition. Another thing you'll have to purchase is these cables. These cables, I have them specifically long enough to where they can reach the winch in the back of the Jeep, or of course in the front of the Jeep. And these have sat here for like 4 years, and I've been on some really rough roads. I've never had any issues. They just stay in there. They don't move around. But you will have to buy a set of cables. And then of course you need a winch. The winch, to use this, you're going to have to buy a winch with a remote, and I'll show you why here in a little bit when we do the demonstration. And I also highly recommend you get a winch with a synthetic rope. And the reason why is because if you get a steel cable, it makes the winch too heavy, because you will have to move this winch around. It's not very difficult to do. One time I had to carry this winch up a small hill, and you know, it's not bulky weight. It's very compact, so it is very easy to do. And for me to set this winch up on my Jeep takes less than a minute, so it doesn't take very much time at all. Another thing you'll need is you'll have to buy a winch plate down here to mount your winch on. See that right there? And one that goes into a receiver. And these are inexpensive. You can buy them on Amazon. You know, I can't remember how much I paid, but it's definitely not going to bankrupt you. And then, of course, you need this. And I'll show you this, how this works here in a little bit. But you need a metal stake. And all this is, my dad made me this one in his shop, but all it is a horseshoe peg. And this is 24 inches long, and it's sharpened at one end. And then, of course, you'll need a hammer to hammer in the peg. And then this right here, this is just my winch bag. It has like my pulleys, my ropes, and stuff like that. But that's pretty much everything you'll need to purchase for your vehicle to make this system work for you. Here's how the winch looks on the front of the Jeep. And if you wanted to, I mean, you could roll up the cables, tuck them in there nice and neat, put your cover over the winch, and you could leave it on there 24/7 if you like the looks of it. And, you know, it just looks like a normal winch on front of a Jeep or any other vehicle. If you're like me, most of the time when you get stuck, it's because the snow's getting too deep, the mud's getting too deep, the sand is getting too soft, and you need to go backwards. You need to go back the way you came and either come back another day or try to find a different route. And that's what I love about this system. You can pull yourself forward or backwards. And so remember our cable, here it is. And I recommend getting quick connects. It just makes it a lot easier. And here we go. I got the winch connected to the rear receiver, and I can pull myself backwards, no problem. Well, I got myself purposely stuck and kind of buried the rear end, and this way we can do a demonstration. And I had the winch hooked up to the rear of the Jeep, and I got my cable, and here is my stake right here. Now, the problem with these stakes, they don't always work. You have to have really hard, compact soil, usually clay. Clay works the best. And the soil that we're in this dry creek bed, it's just real sandy. I hammered that in like butter. So I just mentioned that because I don't want you to think you can rely on the stake. The stake is simply a tool. It may or may not help you, but it's something you definitely want to carry with you because I have used it to get unstuck. It does work, just not in every situation, but we'll find out if this one's going to work or not. One thing you'll want to do is make sure your transmission is in neutral, your transfer case is in neutral, and I always leave the vehicle running anytime I'm using the winch. And these winches, they will draw a lot of amps. And so the last thing you want to do is be stuck with a dead battery. Remember when I told you you would need a remote? And this is why. Anytime you're using a stake like this, you definitely, for your own safety, you want to be behind the stake. Even if you're with a buddy, your wife, girlfriend, one of your kids, you don't want anybody up there in that area. If this stake comes flying out of the ground, it's going to fly through the air and possibly hit somebody. So whenever I'm using this, I always kind of stay behind it, kind of like right where I am right now, and that's just for my own safety. I got a storm coming in and it's starting to rain, so I got to wrap this up. So we'll give this one shot with the stake. If it doesn't work, I'll just hook up to that tree and get out that way. So let's see, here goes nothing. Nah, it's definitely not gonna work. Soil's way too soft. I got the storm coming in and I gotta get off the mountain, so I don't have time to mess around with the stake. So we're gonna go old school and just hook up to a tree. pulling backwards. And there you go, unstuck. And it's starting to come down pretty good. So I gotta pick up all my stuff and I gotta hurry and get out of here. I wish I would have picked a different spot where it wasn't so sandy, so I could have gave you a better demonstration of the stake and show you how it does work. But like I said, don't rely on it. But I would definitely carry one with you, because if you have the right conditions, they do work. But the main point of the video is to show you a setup where you can use a winch and pull forwards and backwards. And if you're like me, most of the time when I'm stuck, I need to go back the way I came. And so having a winch permanently mounted on my front bumper does me no good, because I can't pull backwards. There's ways you can do that if you have a lot of trees and a lot of pulleys and stuff like that. You can YouTube that, and it's a pain. Something I would definitely not want to rely on. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful. And if you have any specific questions, just let me know down in the comments.